Madam Speaker, right now there are many South Australian households and businesses who are struggling through really tough economic times. They're knuckling down, they're watching every single dollar that they're spending, and they're setting budgets and doing everything that they can within their power to stick to them, because the reality is that they've got no other choice. So why is it then that this Labor government is not even attempting to do any of those things? This Labor government is spending carelessly, it's blowing its budgets, and it's racking up a generational debt that could take decades, even centuries, to repay. That is simply a fact. In the government's own budget papers, you'll see the financials laid out of 28 government agencies. And do you know how many of those stuck to their budget? One single government agency out of 28 managed to spend within its means this financial year. And you won't be surprised to learn that that was the Audit Office. And when I say these agencies blew their budgets, it wasn't just by a little bit. It was by a combined $1.3 billion. I'll say that again, $1.3 billion. Now, the government has been quick to say that $741 million of that was due to health. And sure, it can argue that when it comes to health, we should do everything that needs to be done. But the overspending and the blowouts weren't just in health. In fact, in the Premier's own department, that's the Department of Premier and Cabinet that he directly oversees, it blew its budget by $134 million. So the Premier set himself a budget of $412 million and spent $546 million. That's a 33% overspend. And can you imagine if a private company anywhere in the state, indeed the world, went 33% over their budget? I'd say that there'd be serious questions for the person in charge, and that's why we as the opposition have serious questions for this Premier. But like I've mentioned, this complete lack of disregard for sticking to a budget, this complete lack of fiscal discipline was repeated right across the board, and not just in the Premier's own department. The Department of Infrastructure and Transport, a $195 million overspend. Child protection, a $132 million overspend. Tourism, it set its budget at $100 million and ended up going $85 million over. Education, $61 million, police, $48 million. Those numbers are shocking, but they're actually not surprising because overspending is becoming somewhat of a hallmark of this Malinauskas Labor government. Because if you extend the time frame back to 2022, this government has actually blown its budgets by a combined $6 billion. And it's done that through carelessness, it's done that through blatant mismanagement, and it's done that through the pursuit of vanity projects. Now, let's not forget that the Premier had the bright idea to build the hydrogen power plant at Whyalla, an idea that turned out to be nothing but a pipe dream that he pursued while experts were pulling out of this type of science left, right and centre. The Premier essentially threw $500 million out the window, and it wasn't his money. That was money that came directly from the pockets of hard-working South Australians. And right now it's pretty clear to see that the waste continues. This government is now spending $4 million every single day on consultants and contractors. That's $4 million every single day. $55 million is being spent on spin doctors every single year, and the annual advertising bill is $200 million. And what this shows is a complete lack of respect for the taxpayer dollar. And when you lose respect for the taxpayer dollar, you've lost respect for the very people who earn it. Indeed, taxpayers with this state budget have now been given their first terrifying look at what this type of financial mismanagement can lead to. By 2030, South Australia is likely to hit a record debt of $53.7 billion. $53.7 billion